Okay, I call the meeting to order. We'll start, it's on the agenda, we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? And carried. Approval of minutes of 12/9/24.
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve them. Yeah, they were all in the. Do I hear a second?
I will second.
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Motion carried. Any opposed? Motion carried. We'll wait for Paul to come back. Okay, road report.
I left you with some ugly news about the boom mower the last time.
Yes.
I don't have a whole lot, so don't get your hopes up. It's neither good nor bad yet. I got in touch through Alamo with United Ag and Turf out of Hudson, New York, who's also an Alamo dealer and outfitter. They came up last week and they're putting together an appraisal of what they think that the machine is worth and what they think it would take to get that machine back in running order. Once they're done with that, they're going to forward Paul and myself that number and also to the insurance of the transporter that it happened to, and then I guess we'll be going from there. They also know that we want the machine for spring too, so they're trying to they're the only United Ag Turf or John Deere dealer in the whole area that's also an Alamo upfitter. So I mean, they're almost basically guaranteed to get the business unless we were going to send the thing to Texas where Alamo's headquarters is. But the mechanic that came out and looked at it said that the cab's definitely destroyed, which I mean, we basically knew that. So I don't really have a lot to tell you on that. We had a washout, Endless Brook Road that the guys took care of today. Nothing huge, but definitely would have been ugly if it had really snowed again. Yeah, it was a good 1/10 of a mile long or so, I would say. Probably 8 to 10 inches at the deepest. Endless Brook Road.
Yeah.
It'd be just beyond the turnout for Dayton Hill Road. Going up that steep climb kind of around the corner partially.
Is that a typical bad spot?
It's usually not. I actually wonder if the groundwater flow got turned on somebody's private property up there, where it began, because I can see where it's eating a new path, a new channel down through the woods towards the ditch. I haven't seen an issue with a washout in that spot in the short time that I've been with the town, but I was surprised to see it was actually as ugly as it was. But other than that, we fared pretty well after the however much rain we got in 24 hours there. Nothing significant. The guys did go out and check all the roads, and nothing catastrophic or really anything else we had to deal with. Some potholes here and there, but it's kind of late in the season, unfortunately, to be really running the grader over a road. Unless we want to,
They be
Chance me.
good though. Some
potholes.
potholes here, they're very nasty.
Yeah.
They don't huge, but they just drop it.
I mean, we'll try to do some as time presents itself, but there's no guarantees that we'll get, all of them done. Keep in mind the trucks are set up with sanders in them at this point. So it's, you know, we don't have a truck, we don't have a dump truck without anything in it that we can just shovel some material out of easily or
Good
anything
point.
of that nature, so. I am working on getting a couple different quotes to replace truck 3. I had mentioned the last time also. The truck 3, the 2012 Dodge Ram 5500 we will be truly lucky if we can make it through this winter with that truck without some sort of further engine problems or anything.
You said the tranny was starting to slip.
The transmission is slipping. There's a delay between shift from park to drive and reverse to drive and drive to reverse. It's really not very consistent, but the last garage that I had the truck to for the engine work when it went into lockdown mode or lockout mode, had advised me that that was the last year that they made that transmission. And after the wiring harness issue that we had 2 winters ago, where they had to custom make a wiring harness to go engine to transmission with it, and then the closure of Saunders Transmission in Argyle, those all are some pretty significant factors because you can't get these transmission parts. So if the transmission dies on that truck, basically you're looking at putting a new transmission on the truck, which is, you know, it's pretty substantial for a truck that's a 2012 and it's been in the salt its entire life.
What did we get for the other one we sold? You said 20 some odd thousand?
I believe we got 23,000 for the
23.
2007 International.
And that money is back in the equipment replacement fund?
Yeah,
How much do we have in the equipment replacement fund as it stands today?
I don't know without looking. I don't know. Not a lot.
Not a lot. We know we had 23,000.
We were at a deficit for some time in that.
Okay,
With
that might even be eaten up right now down there.
We had to do that, the purchase of the newest tandem. What was that last October? That was 293,000.
Yeah,
So that's a big unexpected hit. I can see where it,
and we're looking at replacing this truck now, probably around the same money.
I think it's gonna be a little over 100,000 after it's all upfit and everything. I'm trying to get the quotes. I'm trying to get at least 2 solid quotes together for the board, sooner than later
Is
because
this that one that we wanted to replace a little while ago, but we had to they can replace the 10-wheeler?
that's correct. We
Okay, so
were gonna
this
get the
is-
Freightliner. We were gonna get the Freightliner to replace the Dodge.
Right.
And then we found out that the 2007 tandem was not gonna be suitable for another.
So we're looking at basically $120,000 to replace that truck and fit.
I would say that
With a
that's
wing
probably a good rough guess.
That has a wing, we would put a wing
I
plow.
would put a wing plow. I would
I
advise.
bet you it's more than that. I think when
It probably will be.
I
It's
think when
probably
the
gonna
village
be,
bought their 1 ton
102.
with the wing plow, it was,
102.
you know,
and they've,
119.
5 years ago.
unfortunately, all of these trucks, whether you're talking about a 5500 or a 1 ton or a tandem, they're going up astronomically every single year. It's just,
We need a quote.
yeah. So I'm actively working on getting at least 2 for comparables. See how fast I can get that through with the upfitter and the dealership.
Yeah, get that ASAP.
And I did get 1 trade-in value, and the trade-in value for the current 2012 Dodge is not very good. If my memory suits me correct, they offered 9,000. Yeah. So yeah, so it just food for thought. You know, if we
Oh,
decide,
we knew we had to replace that 2 years ago.
yeah.
But that other 10-wheeler just killed us.
Yeah, that was a little bit more crucial than trying to limp this one through.
Oh, this one's at it. Yeah,
Everybody
now.
remembers that had an exhaust leak in the cab and let's put a 4-gas meter in there and see if it's even safe for guys to be in the thing for extended period of time. But anyhow, the Dodge is doing okay now. We're doing everything we can to, we've knocked down the amount of material that we put on it, just to anything we can do to increase the longevity of it and whatnot. And I would just like to put out another friendly reminder that we did change the winter material again.
Again.
No, not again. I'm putting out the reminder again that we changed our winter material for this year. Some people seem to be less than pleased because they don't see it very easily. But I would just like to let everybody know that it's there and it does bite and it's good solid traction. Yeah, that's for the gravel roads, correct. I'm actually I was trying to think of a way to get the word out to the town because it seems like a lot of people aren't hearing about it or whatever. So I've started to incorporate some into the public sand pile, and I'm also going to bring a small little tray over to put on the bookkeeper's counter with a little note so people can see it as they come. I don't know. I mean, unless somebody's got a better solution, people are screaming and stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to advise people as well as possible, but
No,
and I understand it. You go from something that's visible that you can see to, now you're driving at 4 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black. There's no ambient light in the sky. And you think, oh, it's plowed, but I don't think there's anything on it, so people do freak out, and you freak out. That's actually when the things start to go sideways. So
yeah, they
Some of
do.
those belly packets just try.
yeah. I didn't find out about that actually. So
Posted on the website.
otherwise,
Green roads for St. Patrick's Day.
unless anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns for
Put it on the website. I heard that in the back.
So the gravel roads can't be graded though now. I know our road's pretty bad, but you can't grade it because it's so late.
yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying there's a lot of people said there's a lot of potholes.
Yeah.
I know in Hampshire Hollows.
I'm glad every Tuesday.
I'll watch the weather. If we get a decent little run or something, I could try to do it, but I really can't even pack the road back down now because we drained the roller in the grader so that doesn't split. And
Well, at least we can tell them that the
Correct,
won't be
so.
done till spring.
Mhm.
What if there's another municipality that doesn't have sanders in the back of their trucks?
yeah,
We took.
yeah, I
To
think
fill the potholes.
it could be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
No, check it out. See?
you hit these potholes
Yeah.
and boy, it's.
At least you can get the potholes full.
Do you see them on other dirt roads near?
Oh, these 6-wheelers. They'll get
And it does Meals on Wheels. He's gonna see them.
So it's nice. I know they're out there.
Yeah. Is it?
Anything else, Joel?
I'm gonna go out and hopefully this is the right place to say it, but the town of Wells is in a pretty good hardship right now. They usually have a 3-man crew. They're down to 2, or they're down to 1 guy currently. They may be reaching out for official mutual aid, depending on weather and, road conditions, I guess. I've already done a little chatting, but I just wanted to, I did inform Paul about it over the weekend and just want to make sure that the board is also aware of that.
That'll be billed back.
Yeah, we would keep track of any supplies or time or anything of that nature and because they've reached out, I believe it would all be reimbursed. I don't really know what the timeline is on it, but it would.
I mean, I'd say as long as you guys have time to take care of what you need to do. And also I'd question, familiarity with the roads.
Yeah. So we kind of thought, we have a couple places in town where we overlap with other surrounding towns, Fairhaven, Castleton, and Wells. They might do on one road, they might do a short jaunt of ours and we might do a short jaunt of theirs as far as winter maintenance goes, plowing, sanding, salting, whatever. Or it overlaps. They may run over part of our road. Fairhaven, for example, runs over the north end of York Street Extension, and because they're going over it anyways, and they've usually beat us there, they salt it, and then in trade we go to the end of Evergreen, or I believe on the north end, it's called Mahar.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so we do trade-offs, and then we also do a trade-off with Wells on Endless Brook Road, where he could continue, he goes into Wells for his turnaround, for a safe turnaround. He could pretty simply continue around Sawmill Hill and come back to the top of where his turnaround is. We thought that that would be a, simple thing, and we haven't really discussed it because they haven't reached out with an official ask yet. But I just, just want to
it's on the radar.
yeah. So,
Okay. That's the same thing we did in the summer when we went down to Mount Holly.
right,
We took a road trip and went around to make sure we were okay first.
right.
And then you went down there and you really helped. I know that town was very appreciative. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Any questions for Joel?
Thank the crews.
We'll do.
Thank you. Community development?
So I don't have a whole lot more to report this week from last. I've still been working on reporting and requisitioning funds for a few of the grants that I was involved in. So that's taking some time. Just really actually want to say thank you to Nisha and Kim, who are helping so much with a lot of this work. And I think that folks should know how much they're doing to support some of that. But I do want to tell the board, I think it's important to let the board know that I, on Friday, attended a steering committee and meeting for Vorak, and today attended an onboarding meeting. So I have been appointed to the state's Vorak committee. Yes, for the town of Poultney. So I am pretty excited about that. It's a 2-year appointment. I'll be serving as a member at large for economic development and planning work. And the role is a little unique because most of the other folks that are on the committee, it's a collective impact model. I think they have between 9 and 12 statewide members that are in business sector, government, trail organizations, outdoor rec organizations. But my role is particularly related to my employment with the town. So they were looking for perspective from municipalities and people that are working with municipalities. So I think that's pretty unique and that the board should know it. So it's pretty exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do well.
Thank you. I'll do my best. They'll keep me busy for sure. But it will be, I'm also sort of representing some of the southern half of the state, this area, which hasn't had a lot of representation on that board in the past. So we'll be networking with some of the other surrounding communities in Bennington, Brattleboro, and some of those areas as well. So.
That's fantastic for getting to know your contacts.
Yeah, and they
Deeper and deeper.
yeah, absolutely. And the Vorak grants have been when it was the committee was created in 2017, and the original grants Poultney had, which I think it was Paul and Jonas and Catron that wrote that original Vorak grant. That first round was $100,000, and subsequent rounds have been $5 million each. So that sector of the state government, budget is growing. So it's looking very positive.
You'll be in a position soon that you'll be guiding these people instead of.
I don't know. I'm pretty happy where I am.
Congratulations.
That's
Best- Do well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Anything else?
No, that's it for tonight.
Anybody have anything for Sarah?
Can I ask a question? Sarah, can you just remind us what 4X stands for?
It's the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go to town manager's report, Paul, would be okay with you if we listen or had our fire chief come up again?
Yeah. He's back.
Activity reports, captain's reports for October and November, both months.
Very busy.
With
Whoops.
One of each.
Especially with it.
So very busy month for us. October being 16 calls, November 19 calls. So far December has proved to stay the course. We, for some reason, have been so kindly blessed with, we'll have call days that we run 4 or 5 calls a day, and then we'd be able to get a day or two that are not calls. But very busy with that stuff as well. I think it's October. October we were at the fire academy for our burn day that I talked about in the budget session. That's why the fire or drill hours offered are so high. We were up there for the whole Saturday, which was very nice. We ended up going through quite a few evolutions of just, this is our fundamental skills, and then after lunch we went into scenario based tasks. We're getting the trucks, drive away from the burn building, and whoever the person in charge of the burn building is starts calling trucks in like we would do a fire and said, "This is what you got. What are you gonna do?" And that went very, very well. And that's the part where it plays in with our firefighters and their training to their fundamental skills all have to be combined and click, click, click. So, very, very good use of our monies for that. The firehouse, the last couple of years, we've been fighting with furnaces to the point where I had talked with Paul a few weeks ago about having to maybe come up with a alternative plan from the oil-fired boilers that were there. Maybe doing something funky, switching them to propane and all that jazz. We are able to get another set of eyes include in on what the initial issue was with both boilers. So far, they've been okay. So we've been able to back away from the course of having to do something more that we don't want to do.
Are the mini splits hooked up down there?
Yep. So all the living, what I call our living areas would be, so the kitchen, meeting room, and the our rec area, our back area, our pool table and our couches and stuff for
Would we get energy credits if we switch from oil to propane?
I haven't looked into it too much as to what it is. So the big thing for me is going from
That's a cleaner energy.
the underground oil tank that we currently have up there to get to propane, because the underground oil tank has a history to it.
Any of your guys certified in propane?
Yes. Yep.
Good.
I have one technician that's one technician, I think, one's a transporter.
It would be
that.
better if you did go to propane than fuel.
Yeah. So the initial thought was we were just going to switch, because they're just cast iron sectional boilers, to switch them out to a propane burner head on the front of them if we could, just to get us through. And then they are already 2098 to whatever now is that many years old. So the boilers are coming closer to end of life cycle as it is anyway.
Would that
That's why
come
last
out
year's
of your-
budget, we tried to set up that.
Would that come out of your maintenance budget?
No, so the boilers would, if we did a boiler upgrade, would be last year's increase in the budget was for that capital improvements to the firehouse fund.
Okay.
So that's what those would be for.
Okay.
So that money will build so we can do projects.
I'm sorry, I'm just a stickler with.
Yep, no, and that's why we put that in place last year, is because we know this stuff is coming to end of life cycle. It needs to be addressed.
Yep.
So thankfully on that, we're headed in the right direction, and knock on wood. Even with the cold spell over the weekend, everything was happy up there. So otherwise it was usually 1 or 2 people had to go up there every day at different hours and just make sure the furnaces got reset to run back through and get the temperature back up in the building. So, as I said in the budget, or in the budget meeting, we did find out that we did not have workman's comp coverage in New York. We do not have that in place. Fortunately for this year, it was under not something that was in the budget, so that will be an overage there. But now when we go into the state of New York, my guys are covered with workman's comp instead of nothing.
I was surprised to hear that when I did hear that we were. How did we miss that?
From what I understand, New York's set of rules are just so different than the certain companies that do not do business over there. I think that's the biggest thing is most of the workman's comp companies that do business in the state of Vermont don't write into New York. So, and the way the insurance person we were talking with said it needs to be stated on the insurance policy what state you're covered in. It only says Vermont because well, you're a Vermont fire department. You're not in New York. When I talked with the representative from VLCT, she said, well, that's not a big deal for you guys. At that point in the year, we had fought more structured fires in New York mutual aid than we even had in Vermont, which in my is a good thing because it's definitely not in my town. So it's in New York, it's not in my town. She didn't think it was that big of a deal. I'm sitting there on the phone, biting my tongue, going, don't understand, lady. That's the most dangerous part of what we do. We've done the most of it this year in New York, and you have no concern.
But you are covered now. We are covered now.
And that's, when we go back to more insurance talk, when I left the conversation with her, are you going to reach out to the rest of your members, i.e. our mutual aid partners up and down this border, and let them know that this is an issue? Deal with it on a case-by-case basis. On that note, I hung up with her, called Angelo, said we need to figure out our end of it now. I'm going to start calling mutual aid chiefs all the way up and down this border that I know and say, man, we have to work together because if you go across that border tonight and have an issue, you might have a real issue. So,
That's never been brought up before when you've done so many.
yeah,
I know, that's what I said.
Such a border state, and we've done so many, and they come here all the time, rescue squad.
yeah, they were Washington County
Yeah.
departments were looking back into their stuff to make sure coming this way.
Well, at least it's.
Yeah.
We're good now, so it's, yeah.
Or something.
100%. So, yes, I had about it for fire department. I had some answers to budget questions if we wanted to broach that tonight still, or we can wait the budget meeting again. I did get some answers out of some people while we were gone for a little while.
What have you got?
So I have a flyer for the length of service program.
Yeah, we
Just a
need to
little bit of
see that.
read of that. I do have the one flyer on evaluation methodology for.
If you got that, we can read that while
I'll just leave that.
we're out and start studying it and see.
This one you wanted to see for sure.
Yeah, that's
Talking about
something I want to see.
actual cash versus an agreed value and how that all works out. And they write that program all day long.
Hey, look,
Talk to them.
Can I take this
You can
home?
have that. Yep. The West Rutland chief, I did call him and he has never seen a dramatic increase in their premium on that agreed value
He
program.
hasn't
He
seen,
has not.
like,
this year.
what's dramatic?
This year he was expecting a big hit. He was said 7 or 8% of an increase this year on the rates. So, which
That's not a point, it's a percentage, 7%,
7%,
not 7.
that's 7% increase on their on their premiums. Sure.
Thanks, we can keep this one going.
So that low SAP thing, there is that left side talks about the defined benefit versus defined contribution. The way that 20,000, I would put that to the defined contribution. That says we put this much in and whatever it makes till they get to their retirement, that's all they get. Versus the defined benefit is like Castleton's running in their program. If you meet what you're supposed to get your retirement from them, they will pay you that much. We have to, the town makes up the difference. If the market didn't make enough money to pay out that, the town has to pay that extra
They're
in.
guaranteed that much money.
They're guaranteed that much, whereas the defined contribution is we only put this much in, whatever it makes, it makes. If at the end of your retirement cycle, it didn't do well, you're only gonna get what it made. So,
Really is a big difference.
yep.
Okay,
Thank you, Aaron.
at 16,000, that would have gone up $1,120 the following year.
Yep.
It was at 7%.
So
I just like to be proactive with our money.
100%. So right now, the way the policy is written at that number, the 2 big trucks would be insured at $1 million a piece. The Mini that we bought 2 years ago, we just got this last April, where it would be insured at 500,000, And then, even the Ram and the trailers and all that have a listed value. So when we met with him, we said, this is how much, if that vehicle gets totaled, you're open to pay up to that much to replace it. So with that, the $1 million policy on those two big trucks, if the replacement cost 1.2, we would have to come up with the 200,000. But right now, the way they currently sit, if one of those trucks got wrecked, we're gonna get what they go on the marketplace and say, oh, this one kind of matches. We're gonna give you about that much.
Term life insurance is involved in this too.
No, so the only thing that,
The term life insurance is not good. Whole life.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I want to read this.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is what I'm looking for. At least me anyway.
I'll get more from, so Castleton has the, like I said, the benefit one.
They have a website.
This BFIS, yes.
We
Bunch
can
of, yep, you can read all their history and everything they do. They're 100% geared towards what we do, because they know the holes and gaps that coverage that we encounter, so.
Sorry, I want to read before we make.
Good idea.
Okay.
Sorry, the only other thing, Sarah and I have not been able to connect other than quick phone calls back and forth. We have done digging on other funding sources for the new truck. USDA is about the only thing we found. They do have a grant, period, that's.
It's a rolling application. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was what, 150,000? Was that right?
Sound about like
Yeah.
that one would be eligible for if it was fully funded. She didn't sound like that's a good number to hold to, because that's if they get the money to be able to even hand out, so.
Yeah.
You're talking your new truck again.
Yep.
And I might have to wait for a bit. We're trying to get, like I say, when we just talked about this before, we really are, we're gonna have to take a bond out for either a town hall or a town garage.
Yeah.
And if you take too many bonds out, that's really not, we already had one out on our library.
Gotcha.
And, as a taxpayer, I really have heart, personally, me.
Yep.
I have heartburn with paying taxes on interest.
Yep.
That's
That's a-
something that just isn't good
Well, I was
money
asked that
management.
the truck fund, we make sure we keep going up with that,
Yeah.
because those trucks are gonna increase at that 7-8%. For as long as time is, and if we're not increasing our fund by that much, we're not gonna reach the ability to at this point.
We understand that, but we really need a new town garage. That's top priority.
Yep.
Just so.
Yep.
Thank you. Any questions for Eric,
Yeah.
or Aaron?
This might be a silly question because it says mutual aid. So if we get 7 calls and we go to Fairhaven all over,
Yep.
and then they come here, we don't get money and then they don't charge it. So mutual means they can come whatever our calls. So if we get 20 calls and we go there and it's only 5, that's okay. It's just whatever it happens to be.
We offer our services, the only time billed services fall into effect for us is if it's a hazmat situation, which is under which somebody is billing. So we have done that before and it depends. Then a couple of years ago, we went twice. We had a oil tanker rollover and some other spill that we ended up on. We were there for hours. We ended up having to get a bill together, write it up, send it to them, and they wrote us a check. I think both those checks we wrote, put them right back into, I think, the equipment fund when we got those.
Okay. I mean, I know when the fire was over here, we had 8 people, 8 fire trucks from all over, which is great, but I just didn't know how.
Yep, no.
Yeah, that's what I figured. All right, just wanted to double check.
Aaron,
Those are,
it says that you went to a controlled burn bay.
So-
What was on it?
probably, so November, correct?
Yeah.
During the burn ban, so somebody was
Yeah.
burning something and, so right now, we've been for longer than 10 years, are on automatic mutual aid with Fairhaven during the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
So they have almost nobody over there at all.
Right.
So what they'll do is simultaneously tone us in Fairhaven for any calls from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
Mhm.
we go to the firehouse and their chief or someone else, like that one. I'm pretty sure I remember that one. Somebody got there and told the homeowner, go put your fire out. So within 20 minutes, we're out of the firehouse, but
Okay.
do want to say I was very impressed and very happy, very proud of our guys. When that house on the corner of
Mhm.
where I live,
Yep.
how your crew handled that.
They didn't
Fairhaven came, we had 7 different
Mm.
towns,
8 different towns.
3 Poultney members that start.
3
At the
polling
start.
members to start.
4, you count milk.
Yeah.
So you have 8 trucks, but you got 1 or 2 people.
Yeah,
Each one of those trucks. That's why there's so many.
that's why I was very impressed on how that was handled, because
It was
by the
quick.
time she called me at 12:22,
I ran over to you because you didn't answer your phone.
and we met at the fence at the senior center. And we weren't there, 30 seconds, and the windows blew out.
And who went by? It was the
Fire marshal,
fire marshal was driving by. We're like, what?
down going to Bennington.
Yeah. I think there's a fire here. Like, yeah.
But yes, I was very impressed with.
Yeah. One did a good job.
Okay,
Thank
any,
you, thank
any
you.
questions for Aaron? Town managers report?
So you may recall, I know Alan, you weren't here at the last meeting, but Jamie Lee from the planning commission gave a presentation on the proposed unified bylaw updates. So I'm looking for some action on those proposed unified bylaw updates.
We need a motion to approve the proposed unified bylaw updates. Do I hear a motion to approve
I
that?
would make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions by the board?
Jamie did a good job. Thanks for all that group did.
Jamie Lee did a great
She did.
presentation too.
A lot of work.
She's a very good
Team.
person. All right,
Okay,
any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
okay. I've got the note here on the ARPA funds discussion. There are still a few matters that we've tentatively have earmarked ARPA funds for that I'm not yet in the position to present to the board contracts on. Well, I'd like to discuss some of that stuff in executive session
Okay,
with the board.
that's under contracts, issues pertaining to ARPA funding.
Correct.
We're going to.
We did discuss the VLCT dog control ordinance last meeting. I don't know if the board is prepared to finally put that one to rest or not.
We have got to. We do this. This is gonna put you as. That's gonna take you out of the office quite a bit.
I mean,
Fine.
it's not much different from what we already have, with the exception of the optional language for potentially vicious dogs, which I've highlighted there.
It-
I think really that's the one piece that our ordinance seems to be missing.
Can the offenses be like 100, 300, and $500 first offense, second offense, third offense? And can that money, it didn't say in here, can that money be paid right to the town or just going to the state? That was my other question.
It goes to the town.
So if my dog's barking, you give me a first offense, $100, I write that check to the town of Poultney.
As I understand it, correct.
Second offense, 305.
So just as a matter of information, Castleton, they have a first offense of 150, second offense of 300, third of 450, and anything over 3 of 500. And then they have waiver fees, waiver fines.
I would go with that.
Well, there's a part in here too that goes to the pound. That was my other question, like, where does that go? If you have to take it. I know you have personally taken it to your garage or over to the shelter, which we can't take anymore.
So there's
So what does that mean?
a pseudo impoundment facility at the village wastewater treatment plant that I've used a few times.
So I'm just.
one time not so successfully.
I know I'm a pain. That's my
I
only.
mean, I don't know what to
Pass.
If you're asking, do we have a pound? We don't.
Because it says here that we take them, so there's a lot of things that I'm looking at that. That's what it says, so if you have a vision dog, we have to take it to the pound, where are we gonna take it? To your garage, you're gonna put it in your truck? Which you've done in the past, that's what I'm saying. Does the board feel that we need to have a plan for that, or no? Everyone's happy that happens when it happens?
The process of changing this, can we do a little bit now, a little bit later, or is it something that's worth doing all at once? Right.
I don't know. We've talked about it quite a bit.
Just saying we don't have to get it 100% right now, do we? And
No, I don't think so.
Or date our fines and then worry about some of the other stuff later. So at least do something on it.
I'm assuming that you would be.
I mean, to be quite
dog
frank,
control.
I mean, I could probably charge someone when I collect their dog, but I ain't got time for that. They come here, here's your dog. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
So
Here it sounds like there's one person plus
Yeah.
there's a lot of select board stuff in here too that says the select board has this and that. I'm like, do we really need to micromanage something like
well,
that?
I mean, if you do a vicious dog complaint, it's gotta go to the select board, and the select board has the ability to say, okay,
Right.
remove the dog from the town, euthanize the dog, muzzle the dog every time he goes outside.
And then lack of license and rabies tag and all that stuff that we see. Sometimes they come to you, they don't even have tags on. We have to put a picture, put on social media, like, whose dog is this? Oh, it's mine. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Are we good with that happening? And we're not charging them because.
Usually, here's your dog. I'm not gonna give it to you until you go in there and show proof of rabies vaccination and register it.
And it's a sequence of events, so when do the violations happen? Like, do we give them first
Again,
violation?
I don't have time for it. So if I find someone's dog, here's your dog. If you know, like,
Okay,
I don't have time to administrate her.
I get that, that's my point exactly.
So you either have an ordinance or you don't. What the ordinance we have now doesn't have what everyone thinks it should have, i.e. the public, some who threaten me with physical harm. It scared me, chase me down the road. I can't do anything unless it bites you. Well, what do you mean? We don't have the potentially vicious part of the animal control ordinance that seems to be the thing that people are looking for the most. In the deputy sheriff that's assigned to Poultney has been working with me and working with complainants. And the sheriff's department has taken the position, if you're not going to give me a written statement, I can't help you. And 95% of the time, people are like, I'm not giving you a written statement. So it's like everyone's spinning their wheels. So
You would like us to pass this the way it is for?
honestly, I
That work for you?
maybe the Alan's point is you incorporate the vicious dog,
Yeah.
potentially vicious dog into your ordinance. I don't know, we've been talking about it for a long time. If the board wants to make an action on it, I think let's stop talking about it and do something. Otherwise, let your ordinance stand as it is.
I would make a motion to adapt the VLCT dog control ordinance the way it is.
Different than what we just talked about.
Really?
We talked about just adding in the potentially the stuff.
Add the potentially vicious dog into our ordinance
Maybe update our fine structure too.
and then go back and revisit the fine structure. But at this point in time,
I mean, if you're gonna adopt this one, you have to say first offense is this, right, waiver is that, etc.
There's a sequence of offense, the first offense, and how long do you give them? Do you give them 4 weeks? I mean, it says 3 months, 1 month, 2 months. I mean,
Yeah.
that's gonna be written on their offense, so that's good. That's part of it too. Do you give them 1 month, and then if it happens again, you give them another month, and then I mean, it's up to everybody else to make a.
I would actually say let's incorporate the potentially vicious dog portion of this ordinance into our dog ordinance as it stands right now. Take that, put it in, insert it, and then go back and talk about the fines and stuff as we go. But at least get this part in.
So I would amend my order. My
Yeah.
motion
Amend it.
to just do the potentially vicious dog addition to our current dog ordinances. That work? Second that?
Second.
Okay, comments or questions by the board?
That's without me.
Right now, we're just taking action on a potentially vicious dog.
And the town manager has highlighted that as the biggest weakness.
You made the motion, so I'm saying.
And it's second by Alan.
Right.
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed?
Sounds like you have someone abstaining.
You're
I'm abstaining here.
you're abstaining? So 3 ayes, 1 abstain. Motion carried. Everything can always change as you go.
It's been like.
Yeah, right. You want to be-
No, we got
So this is
something.
one step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is.
Perfect.
One small step for mankind. Anything else, Paul?
No,
Okay, we need to go into executive session for contractual.
Do public comments first.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Hang on. Thank you. Transact any of the lawful select board business. Rutland Regional Planning Commission,
No updates.
public comments or concerns. I'm sorry, I got way ahead of myself. Got any tonight?
Those are great.
Nobody on Zoom for that?
Public comments.
Yes.
I have a question. I noticed that at the last meeting in executive session, you obligated ARPA funds in the amount of $35,000 to guarantee a contract between Peter Rollins and Owen Z. Crawford for demolition of the brick portion of the house located at 43 Grove Street. Is this on private property?
it is.
So will the town be reimbursed by the property owner for this, or how does it work?
Well, it's a guarantee of the contract. And this board, as I noted in the minutes, we're treating the matter as a public health issue. Because if the building falls on the neighbor and or the public, you know, it's potentially, it's a public issue. So, yeah, I do envision the town will be reimbursed, but, as you probably know, ARPA funds, you know, there is some latitude on how the town can use ARPA funds, how the board decides to use ARPA funds. But, right now, it's just a guarantee.
Can you explain what a guarantee is then?
That if Mr. Romans doesn't pay the contractor, the town will pay the contractor.
Oh,
And the contract states that if the town does expend funds that are not reimbursed, that the town would be first lien holder of the real estate. I.e., they would Mr. Romans would give the town a mortgage on the real estate.
sounds good. And one other question regarding the dog control ordinance. And I can't remember, does our current ordinance have a description of a potentially vicious dog?
No, it doesn't.
So does the Vermont League of Cities and Towns have a description?
Mm-hmm.
So would you consider using that?
That's what we just did.
So but you're adding the description.
There's a script, yeah, the potentially the VLTC's, potentially vicious dog description of that part of the ordinance
Okay,
is now going to be inserted into our dog ordinance.
okay, good. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Any other questions? Okay, motion to sign the board orders,
Second.
all in favor? Motion carried. Everyone, have a good, happy holidays.
Well,
Stay safe. If you've been bad and Santa doesn't come, it's your own fault.
Away from those tiles.
Do it to one.
Big.
Section 3.
You can leave those chairs. I
Yeah.
Right here.
Isn't that big?
No, but clearly blatant. Involve a substantial disadvantage of certain matters related to contracts or discussed outside executive session.
Right? You'll second it? Cheryl seconded. All in favor? Motion carried.
One VSA section 313A1A, and make the motion to enter into executive session to discuss contract matters.
You'll second? All in favor? Motion carried. We're in executive session at 6:52. Motion to come out of executive session,
I'll make a motion, to come out of executive session at
7:17.
Second, but
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Several motions to be made by the board for our executive session discussions.
I'd like someone to make a motion that we obligate, ARPA funds in the amount of $16,571.50. And sign a contract with Silway Networks to provide, new computers for all of the town of Poultney employees that currently have computers.
I'll make the motion for that.
second bet.
Comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'd like a motion to obligate $16,044 to pay for 1 year of management services, cloud services, and related hardware in connection with the new contract for computers.
I'll make a motion.
Second bet.
Comments or questions by the board? All in favor?
Um,
Any opposed? Motion carried.
I'd like to hear a motion, please, to obligate $13,372 to engage the services of an architectural firm to perform a town office scoping study for the town of Poultney.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? I didn't hear a lot of ayes. Any opposed? No, motion carried.
Okay, I would like a motion, please, to obligate ARPA funds to implement SMS messaging for the town of Poultney website from EcoPixel as the vendor for a one-time fee of $900.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and could I please have a motion to obligate ARPA funds for implementation of a program registration system for Poultney Recreation website in the amount of $2,568 from EcoPixel as the vendor.
You second that? Comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You said you had
I'd like
six.
to, have somebody make a motion to approve a resolution to obligate and expend SLFRF funds in amount up to $26,985.24 for the purpose of municipal workforce retention to pay for payroll expenses for the period July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024.
We discussed this.
We did.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
I have prepared said resolution that was just approved by the board to obligate and expend SLFRF funds in an amount up to $26,985.24 for the purpose of municipal workforce retention or pay for payroll expenses for the period July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. And I'll circulate that for the board's signature.
Very good. Very good board members.
We did already in the other session, right before we went into executive session. So I'm done tonight, believe it or not.
What's the initials on that? S what?
It's the ARPA funds. SF, SLFRF.
That was the
I
ARPA
was also
funds
gonna ask.
that we-
Right. We pay them forward.
And that,
We can use them.
that by my accounting has the town has spent and or obligated all of its ARPA funds that it received in the amount of, it's on that first page, 500 and what is it?
$509,490.06.
Yeah, by where you're obligated to spend it or obligated by the end of this calendar year.
And the village has their own.
The village spent all of its ARPA funds. Thank you.
Very good. Is that it?
That's all I have for this evening.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I just have one question. Paul, did my name get put on to the Vermont architectural firm for suburban propane? To help them look at it?
There is no, I don't believe this board formed a committee, if
No,
that's what you're asking.
not the committee, but I told you that I wanted to be involved with that group.
In what capacity are we talking about?
To represent the town.
This board represents the town.
Right.
Unless the board gives me a different direction, I'm,
It was, so when they come, to town,
Who's they? The,
the Vermont architectural group that we hired.
Look at our 3 sites.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The letter said that they want somebody from town. Or people, various people.
Let's put this on the agenda for the next, this is something that
okay.
we don't have an audience here. Let's put this on the agenda and talk about it when our audience is here. I don't know what they have.
I don't know either.
But if we're gonna discuss it, we need to discuss it with an audience here, if it's gonna be a discussion item. Okay?
I'll put it on the next agenda.
We,
But remember, it's not the 23rd, so just make sure you know.
yeah,
So did somebody make a motion to adjourn?
yeah, somebody make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carried.